Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. My name is Miley. If you are new here, I do a new DIY video every single week. So if that sounds like something you are into, you know what to do with that information. You know, we can't start a coffee video without having some coffee. And I have to get this out of the way. This is a temporary tattoo because I'm 12 years old. Great. Okay, besides my tattoos, this week I am starting another makeover series. I know you guys missed them. I know you missed them. So this week I'm starting my kitchen makeover. My kitchen isn't awful. You don't like walk into the kitchen and be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst kitchen I've ever seen. It's not like that. It's a very nice kitchen, but there are some things I would like to do that are like personal preference changes or just like trying to utilize the space a bit better. So this week I am making a fun little coffee station. I got an old dresser off of Facebook Marketplace for 20 bucks that I'm going to be flippity flopping, breathing some life back into this thing. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Breathing some life back into this thing. So that is what I'm gonna be doing this week to start off my kitchen makeover. Let's get started with my cool tattoo. Okay guys, here is my kitchen, and like I said, there is nothing in your face that is really bad about this space. I actually personally really like it. I think it's kind of a unique kitchen in the fact that there's a fireplace in here, there's a big space for a large table without being a formal dining room, but I think there's still some things that I can definitely do to improve this space. And one of the big things is the lack of countertop space, which is a pretty common problem in a lot of kitchens. And I'm a big coffee person, and I've been wanting to get more coffee related things, but for the most part I do like to keep the countertops appliance free. So I thought by creating this coffee station it would clear up the counter and also make it so I could get a few more coffee related things like an espresso machine, because sometimes plain old coffee is just not enough and I need that extra hit. And here is the dresser I am going to be turning into the coffee station. She's definitely a bit beat up and has seen better days. We have some large holes in all the drawers that need to be worked on, but beyond the cosmetic stuff, this dresser is actually perfect. I was on the hunt for a dresser for a while, and finding a dresser that had the right dimensions was actually really hard. Most dressers I found were way too short and would have been very awkward to be a coffee station. But when I saw this one and it was nice and tall, but also had the perfect length and width to fit the space, I snatched this thing up so fast, and for 20 bucks it was a no-brainer. And up until this week, this dresser has been sitting in my basement and I hadn't even opened the drawers. So the first thing that I did was open the top two drawers to assess if they were functional, and both of them seemed to be in really good condition. And the bottom two drawers I was removing to create one large shelf on the bottom. Oh, heck no, no. I think that's a fake spider, but oh my gosh, that looked real. Who would do something cruel like that? That's just rude. Yeah, with old thrifted furniture, you just never know what you're gonna get. But hey, the mystery is what makes it fun. So to make this large open shelf, I had to remove the wood that was holding up the drawer, and I actually thought this was gonna be easier than it ended up being. Because this is an old dresser, I thought everything would just kind of fall right out. But when I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with my hammer, I had to bring in the big guns. Yeah, my jigsaw. Electric tools really come in handy. And once I cut through each piece, then I was able to use my hammer to get the pieces out. After removing all of that wood, I used some wood filler to fill in all of those holes in the drawers, and then remove the drawers to prep this for painting, only to discover another mysterious item. I don't know what's in there. Okay. I'm gonna use my hammer. I'm just gonna pull out whatever that is. Okay. What is this? I am okay. 2 surprises in 1 piece of furniture. Am I lucky or what? Okay, to further prep this dresser to paint, after removing the wood from the bottom section, I was left with some pretty big holes that I needed to fill in. So, using my jigsaw, I cut off the ends of each piece so I could pop them back into the holes they were in, and then used wood filler to further fill in all the gaps. And while I let that sit and dry, I sanded and started to prime the outside of this dresser. And if you're new to my channel, I always do 2 really thin layers of primer when painting furniture. The thinner the layers are, I have found to be better so you don't create any goopy areas and you don't lose the details of the piece. And after the second layer of primer was all done, I let the dresser sit overnight so that the primer was nice and dry before moving on to paint. So now it is time to paint. And if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Miley, and my channel is filled with videos of me painting things black. And this video is not any different, but you know what, you gotta stick with what you like and what makes you happy. So if color makes you happy, paint things more colorful. Personally for me, black brings me so much joy, so I paint things black. And I did contemplate doing another color or shade, but at the end of the day, painting this black was gonna fit the space the best and also create the vibe I'm going for in this kitchen. And just like primer, I usually do 2 to 3 layers of paint, and they're all really thin because we want to make sure we're not creating any goopy areas. And one thing I do when painting a dresser like this that has some details on it that we don't want to muddy up or get really gooped up, I use a paintbrush that I would use more on like a canvas to paint all of those details. I find that I can really work the paint into all those details so that they're not goopy and we're not losing them. And after getting those 2 layers of paint done and dusted, it was the part I was really nervous for. I had to cut the board for the shelf I was making on the bottom, and the reason I was super nervous for this part was this is the first time I had to do a cut where I had to notch out areas of the piece so that the board fit nice and snug in there. And I told Jordan, that's my husband, about how I was really nervous because one wrong move and I would have had to go get another piece. And with the price of lumber right now, I did not want to make a mistake. So Jordan recommended making a template out of cardboard. And I really liked that idea because this wasn't just notching out square pieces. There was some weird triangle pieces that I had to work around. So by making the template out of cardboard, this made it super easy to get those weird cuts just right. For the shelf, I used a project panel board. I've used project panel boards in some other projects I've done in previous videos, and I always really like working with them because they come in a bunch of various different sizes, and most of the time I can find a board that is really close to the size I want or exactly the size I want. And I started off by cutting this board to the length and width of the dresser, and then I brought in my template to use that to trace out the notches I had to cut to make this thing fit. And after cutting those notches, I went and tested out this board to make sure my template worked, and boom, it popped right in. So thank you, Jordan, for the template idea. I'm almost positive I would have not come up with that idea on my own. And with the shelf cut, now came the next part I was really nervous for. So as you can probably tell by now, I decided to not paint the top of this dresser. I really like the combination of wood and black together, and I also specifically like the distressed look of this top, so I wanted to leave the top alone, and I wanted the shelf to have the same look. So with that came the fun task of color matching the top and trying to create the same look. I had this idea of mixing 2 stains together that I already had. One is Gunstock and the other is dark walnut. Gunstock is a pretty bright red stain, and dark walnut is of course a nice dark stain. So I thought by combining the two, I would get a fairly similar color match to the top of this dresser. And after testing out this idea on the scrap piece of the project panel, I was pretty pleased with the color match. So I moved on to the actual shelf piece, and I didn't put this on like normal stain. To mimic the distressed look of the top, I kind of painted with the stain. There were areas I let the dark walnut sit in for a while to create some darker areas, and areas where I did the same thing with Gunstock to create some lighter red areas. And then of course there were areas I would blend the two stains together evenly. So I just played around with the stain, treated it more like a painting, and after finishing the staining and popping the board into the bottom, I was super happy with the color match and the overall look of the shelf. And after the hard part of making the shelf was done, the rest of this project was super easy. To make sure this dresser and the paint were all sealed up and more importantly waterproof, since I'm gonna be having coffee and stuff over here, I used some polyacrylic and painted a few coats of this all over the dresser to seal up this paint, protect the wood from the coffee things that will be happening over here. And the final step to complete this dresser makeover, I got these handles at Hobby Lobby. And usually when I go to Hobby Lobby for hardware, I usually have a plethora of options, but I had a specific look in mind, and it actually took me a hot second to find these handles because they were kind of hidden. I really didn't like any of the other options. Well, I did like these cow handles, I just don't think they fit the vibe though. But after looking high and low, searching and searching and searching, I finally saw these handles and I knew they were perfect, and they had exactly 4, so it was my lucky day. And that completes this project dresser makeover coffee station. Yeah, well, kind of. Now came the fun part of filling this up, and this thing actually turned out to be perfect. Both the drawers were the perfect size for what I wanted to put in them. The bigger drawers, I was able to put my mugs in there. I was also able to clear out all of my tea from my pantry, and I put them in this little silverware holder to organize them, which cleared out a ton of space in my pantry, so that was great. And for this bottom shelf, I put all the stuff together I was planning on putting down there, and I realized I needed a little half shelf so that I could stack some stuff. So I quickly built this little wood shelf using that scrap piece of the project panel and a 1x6 that I cut to size, and used some pocket holes to put it all together, stained it, and had a little shelf. And this little shelf was actually perfect so that I had an area for some taller things and an area where I could stack mugs and other coffee making items. And the most exciting part was I was able to get an espresso machine, and now all I need to get really to complete my coffee list of things that I want is a coffee grinder. Man, I am taking my coffee game to a whole new level with this coffee station. I'm so happy with how this project turned out. The before and after is truly a transformation, and I'm so excited this was the project to kickstart my mini kitchen makeover series. And I started this video with some coffee, so I should probably end it by making some coffee. As always, thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye, guys.